I do now want to pivot and talk about how some of your colleagues and lawmakers are discussing the conflict in the Middle East right now. Senator Lindsey Graham said this, quote, "We're in a religious war here. I am with Israel. Do whatever the hell you have to do to defend yourself. Level the place." And Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez really took issue to that statement, and she said this in response, quote, "This is textbook rhetoric of ethnic cleansing that cannot be accepted in any civil society," end quote. "It is an affront to humanity to weaponize this horrific trauma to justify the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians." What do you make of her response, and what do you make of Senator Graham's first statement there?
If I heard you correctly, the senator said flatten the place. I'd strongly disagree with that. And I can understand Ilhan Omar's response to it. The fact is, Israel is not going to ethnically cleanse Gaza. Israel is doing what it can to protect the Palestinian people. When in any other conflict throughout history, has one of the warring sides said, we're going to give you notice of where we're going to come in. We're going to give you time to evacuate people. We didn't do that before we bombed German cities in World War II or in the Vietnam War. And so we didn't tell the French people of Normandy, we're going to be landing. In fact, we did everything possible to make both the Nazis and the French civilians think we were going to land somewhere else. The idea of providing notice, and then as people leave northern Gaza, and keep in mind, Israel has asked them to only move roughly 5-7 miles. People don't realize how short a distance we're talking about here. Then Hamas instructs them to stay where they are. And then there is there's an explosion as some are moving south, and it's I think increasingly likely that an investigation would discover that was a Hamas explosion. Israel wants people to move south. Hamas is trying to terrorize people into staying where they are and acting as human shields. So when it comes to trying to preserve the lives of the Palestinian people, Hamas is doing a terrible job. They initiated this war knowing that there would be thousands of casualties on both sides. They are demanding that their people stay as human shields. Whereas if you compare Israel's effort for the civilians on the other side of the conflict with any other combatant in history, I think we can be very proud of Israel and proud that it has taken steps that will cause Israeli casualties, no doubt. Telling people when you're coming and where you're coming obviously does that. But they're willing to absorb additional military casualties on the Israeli side in order to try to minimize the civilian casualties among the Palestinians. So war is terrible. Those who started this war bear full responsibility for its outcome. Israel can and should and will adhere to the law of armed conflict, and has gone way beyond that. And you just saw fuel trucks going in to Gaza, knowing, as Israel does, that some of that fuel will be used by Hamas. That fuel can be turned into Molotov cocktails. That fuel can allow them to use their motorized weapons. And in spite of knowing that some of that fuel will kill Israelis, Israel let it in because the rest of, some of that fuel will also be used to power generators at the Gaza hospital. So again and again, Israel is willing to absorb additional casualties in order to minimize the deaths of Palestinian civilians. Where else in history can you point to where that has been the case?